So, the introduction of the new 2022 cars ushered in the modern era of Formula 1 racing with the promise of delivering better and safer racing for the drivers and fans alike. The cars themselves have managed to exceed everyone's expectations by being as fast as the previous generation ones, as well as being able to follow much better behind the dirty air of other cars. This has given us the chance to witness some well-deserved racing battles on track, like those of Verstappen and Leclair among many other drivers. With overtaking now significantly improved in the 2022 cars, many have questioned the need for the drag reduction system, or DRS as it's more commonly known, which was introduced back in 2011. The system has been a matter of debate since its inception and is once again a hot topic given the capabilities of the 2022 car. So let's not waste any more time and dive right into what F1 drivers have to say about DRS. Char Leclair. Following his battles with Max Verstappen, the Ferrari driver was more than grateful for DRS, which allowed him to regain his lead multiple times from the Red Bull driver. Sharing his views about the system, Charles mentioned, "I think DRS needs to stay for now, otherwise the races would be very boring. As much as following has been better from last year to this year, and it's a very positive step, I still think it's not enough to get rid of the DRS. It's part of the strategy for each driver in terms of defending and overtaking, and it's part of racing for now." Leclerc is quite happy with how DRS has made overtaking much easier compared to before, but the Monegasque did raise a few concerns he had about it, stating, "What we might need to consider maybe is the speed delta that there is with the DRS might be a bit too much, which gives the car behind maybe too much of a speed delta, so that sometimes means the overtake is done before the braking. So maybe we need to have a look at this, but we definitely need DRS nowadays." Carlos Sainz. The Spaniard had a great start to his 2022 season with 2 consecutive podium finishes alongside his teammate. While Sainz has struggled to find pace in the Ferrari car, he has managed to push himself in the front and claim important points for his team. Speaking about the significance of DRS in his podium wins, Sainz revealed, "Without DRS it's almost impossible to overtake nowadays. What has improved is the predictability of the car while following, and it's given us a much more predictable balance and the ability to stay closer through the corners." Just like Leclerc, Sainz too pointed out a few problems in the system and suggested a few ways the FIA could address these problems that have cropped up by asserting, "We might need to consider making the DRS effect a tiny bit lower though, just so we don't have the delta states that we see nowadays, that some overtakes are maybe a bit too easy. But without those 3 or 4 tenths that DRS gives you in each straight, it would be impossible to pass, also because the slipstream is lower than last year." Max Verstappen. Despite a disastrous start for his 2022 season, the reigning world champion returned back to his original form with a last-minute win at the 2022 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. During the weekend, Verstappen missed out on pole and started in 3rd position, but would soon climb up places. He would then go on to take the lead in the closing laps of the race and seal his win. Speaking about how he managed to overtake Charles, Max declared, "If I didn't have DRS today, I would have never have passed. I think we're still too sensitive for that. And of course, some tracks are easier to pass than others, but for me at the moment, if DRS wouldn't be there, I would have been second today." The Red Bull driver also opened up about his DRS strategy and how it played a vital role in his victory, stating, "Yeah, it seems like once you get quite close, when you get within half a second, you actually can have a good exit. I think that makes it a lot more tricky to actually do the pass, let's say in the last corner compared to last year, so it's a lot harder to plan your pass." Sebastian Vettel. Now in his 16th year of racing in Formula 1, the 4-time world champion has time and again voiced his disapproval about the utilisation of the DRS in motor racing. Vettel prefers overtaking through sheer skills and strategy rather than depending on artificial means. He openly mocked the change, saying, "I'm not a big fan of DRS. I think of Mario Kart. It might be fun to throw bananas out of the cockpit. So maybe it's a better idea to have bananas than DRS. I don't like it. I think it's artificial. I think we began a couple of years ago by introducing it to some races where it was just way too easy." The German driver further went on to add, "Personally, I would love to be closer and then try to do something, but it's also a challenge, so you need to just arrive and then drive past, not have some tools that puts you side by side. It's great when you're behind because you just sail past, but that's not the idea of an overtake. You have to work for it, try different lines, do different things." Daniel Ricardo. The 32-year-old driver made his Formula 1 debut the same year that the regulations for DRS were rolled out, and hence has had plenty of time racing with the help of the system. The 8-time Grand Prix winner is a big proponent of DRS and believes that it's quite beneficial for racing. During one of his races in Barcelona, Ricardo shared, "The race itself, it's one where DRS is a big plus point. In the past, because everyone knew the track and their setup so well, races tended to be a bit stale. The DRS means that you don't get dull races anymore. You can still defend though, it's a good track for that, but in a way that's going to make the race exciting for spectators." Ricardo has often defended the use of DRS, which he did so during the 2019 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where DRS could not be enabled till lap 18 due to a failure. What the situation shows is that DRS is simply necessary at some circuits. You can live without it in Monza, but even if some people think it's too artificial, we do need DRS with the cars and the speeds that we have. God save DRS, said Ricardo while talking about the failure. Lewis Hamilton. Another one of those drivers who have been critical about DRS is Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton, who has won plenty of races in the pre-DRS era even after the system was put in place. Even though Hamilton hasn't required DRS for most of his F1 career by virtue of having dominated in front of the field, the 7-time world champion is still against it, claiming, "I'm not a big fan of DRS. While I think DRS enables overtaking, it's like a band-aid for the ultimate flaw in the whole concept of a Formula 1 car, that you can't follow. Now it's just, some of the overtakes, you're overtaking halfway down the straight. Of course, it's not as exciting because you want to be doing it in the corner, launching it up the inside of another car." Hamilton, however, is certain that DRS won't be going away anytime soon from F1. "It'll be part of Formula 1 for a while, probably. That's just the way it is. It doesn't bother me because I still have to try and get in the position to be able to utilise it," remarked Hamilton. Fernando Alonso. The 2005 and 2006 world champion is well known for his racecraft and skillful moves on track, most recent being his defence against a charging Hamilton at the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix. Giving his 2 cents on the whole DRS debate, Alonso maintained, "I think we'll always need it in Formula 1. I know that it provides some artificial overtaking, sometimes at different circuits, but if we look back, when we didn't have DRS, the races were much more boring. It was much more difficult to overtake." The Alpine driver expressed his support for DRS and feels that F1 will always need DRS for entertainment. He also explained why he felt so by saying, "Formula 1 is not like other categories. I think in F1 you're always struggling to follow closely enough because of the nature of the aerodynamics and how clever all the teams will always be to provide performance. So DRS is going to be a useful tool, I think, even for the future. We were missing a couple of things and F1 did learn from these experiences, so I think we'll have a better championship." Now, although there have been many vocal critics of the drag reduction system, the FIA have decided against doing away with it for now, given how important the system has been in promoting more overtaking opportunities for the drivers. As Formula 1 focuses on reducing the effects of dirty air, we can soon expect to see DRS being scrapped in a few years' time in favour of clean racing. So, that's what Formula 1 drivers really think of DRS. Do you think it's really that important for racing? Let us know in the comments below, and if you like our content then do hit the subscribe button.